Woo! What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's get to the news, man. This is why we even have a show like this. For days when your team gets to be the top story going around. You know how many text messages and stuff I got today saying, "Yo, man, finally happened. How you feel about Ramsey?" And I said, "Tune in to Dolphins Daily. I'll give you all my thoughts right there." You got to plug your own show sometimes, and this is awesome. We're starting with the top story. Jaylen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith both traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Dolphins get back Minkah Fitzpatrick in a fifth-round pick. We give both of those players and a seventh-round pick. There was a lot of rumors to Pittsburgh, and then all the reporting shut down. Like, oh, they don't want him. Arthur Smith's not here. I mean, Arthur Smith doesn't care that much, and we already have tight ends, and I don't know if we need a cornerback. Our secondary is pretty solid. Evidently, the early reporting was good reporting, and sometimes, as we said before, you'll get smokescreen reports. Sometimes just to gin up some interest, but sometimes just to like allow you to do negotiations behind the scene. I did not at any point, see Minkah Fitzpatrick as being expendable in this situation. We saw Ramsey maybe going there, for sure Jonnu going there, but never did I think this would be the situation, right? So when I saw this news, I was taken aback. All we heard last week, Jalen Ramsey's going to the West Coast. Raiders, Rams, Chargers. All need DBs. He fits in the schemes. It all makes sense. And all of a sudden, Tampa, out of the blue. And I was like, that makes sense. And now, here we are. Jalen Ramsey is going to Pittsburgh and joining what I think is a pretty loaded secondary between him, big play Slay, and then Porter Jr. Like, I think all three of those guys are one good to great. I think Darius Slay still has 2 years of like really good ball in him. Porter Jr. is like he's ascending. I think maybe this year he could be borderline Pro Bowl. Next year for sure he should be in discussions. And we already know what Ramsey's about. I also think they haven't said this based on the reporting that Ramsey will at some point also be playing safety for them. I think he'll bounce between, second corner because I think Porter's their number one corner. I think Slay's going to be their slot, and I think Ramsey's going to be their corner number two. I think he'll play there and then maybe sink into the deeper secondary, deeper thirds at some points. But this is crazy. The biggest part of this deal is that we knew we had to pay some of Ramsey's contract. That was always part of the deal. Every team was like, we love Ramsey, but what's Miami gonna do? You gotta you gotta give us a little something. And Miami was like, hey, we ain't got a lot of something to give. So the way this kind of worked out is the Dolphins have already paid Ramsey $4 million up to this point, and we paid an additional $3 to make the trade go through. Now he was owed 26.6 this upcoming year. So we pay 7, Pittsburgh pays the rest, which is almost 20 million. The way we were talking a couple weeks ago, people were like, yo, Miami's got to pay half, 2/3 of the salary. We got away pretty well. 7 million out of the almost 27 million. I think that's pretty good. And the way I think that went down is Jonnu's basically $4.5 million contract, I think offset extra money we would have paid. That's how I think it kind of came together. Yes, they wanted Jonnu Smith, but I think it's more so we didn't want to have to pay even more money and give up the player. We'll pay 7, but then we get back Minkah, which we'll get to in a second. I think this obviously works if you want to have a really solid to dominant secondary. Cincinnati's passing game is tremendous. We know that. You got the best receiver in the league as of last year, T. Higgins, which is arguably the second best second receiver, the best second receiver. Joe Shiesty, we know what he's about. Then you got Action Jackson. We know what those boys are about. You got to stop somebody. And Pittsburgh's secondary last year, not good. Joey Porter, solid. Rest of those guys, not so much. So now you add him into that team. This feels like an all-in kind of situation for Pittsburgh. They're pushing the chips in the middle. Hey, we got Ramsey. We got the secondary. We got experience. We got multiple champions on our defense now. Let's go get some dubs. That's what it felt like. The Jonnu piece we'll get to in a second. As for Ramsey officially now being out from the Dolphins, we still kind of have a void at corner. We knew going into this was always going to be the case. Who's going to supplant? Who's going to take over the role? I don't know if we have the guy on the roster. This does now leave us in a situation of what do we do now? And we'll probably get more into that tomorrow because this is like so many levels to this. I don't want to burn all this right now. But I will say I'm not happy that he stays in the AFC because I said yesterday that the Dolphins and Steelers were the same basic team. 8, 9, 10 win, fighting for a playoff berth, most likely first, at best, second round knockout. That's kind of where both teams were. And then we traded one of our best players to them. So, yes, I think the overall package back, Minkah and the fifth round pick, is good because we were saying if we can get at least a fifth, hopefully a fourth for Ramsey, that would be great. Okay, we got the fifth. And then you add Minkah, who, is a starter on top of it. I think that haul is as good as we could have got. But I don't know. It's a big void, and I think we made Pittsburgh better. I don't think we got better necessarily by the trade. So on the Dolphins side, we needed to get rid of a distressed asset. We got something back, but then we made a team that we would compete with for a playoff spot better. So could it have been a worst case scenario? Yeah, he could have gone to the Chiefs, which would have been absolutely disgusting. That would have made me I would have thrown up if he had gone to the Chiefs because the Chiefs need a second corner. Nah. So it could be worse, but I think all in all, we did well by Jaylen. I know he want to go to the West Coast, but you got to go to a solid team. You got to go to a team where he gets to start. He gets to go to a team where he can play well. They have a good culture up there. It's cold, but he'll figure that part out. This is going to be like a week-long story. We'll get more. We'll get back to this as we go along in a week. Now, the second part of this trade is the Dolphins get Minkah Fitzpatrick back. You guys know I'm an SEC football guy. Always, always, always. Minkah Fitzpatrick is my favorite secondary guy that's come from Alabama. Maybe second to Patrick Surtain is second. Big fan of Minkah from college to the pros. When the Dolphins drafted him, I was like, awesome. Love Minkah. And when we traded him, I was sad. Because it felt like the energy between us had soured. Basically, we got beat by almost 50 points in the game, and then he was in his feelings. He didn't feel like he was being used properly on defense. And I don't think he was actually all the way wrong because we had him down in the box. We had him in deep thirds. We had him covering one-on-one. I don't think he knew exactly what the role was, and also I don't think he believed in the direction of the team. So we traded him. I get that part. I've always been a Minkah fan. Even after he left, I didn't have any ill will. Like, I was still voting for him for the Pro Bowl. I still watch him. I'm very much a fan. Now that he's coming back, that's awesome. Very much personally, big fan. Our safety position, probably worse than our corner situation. Now Minkah immediately comes in and at very least fortifies the safety position. He gets to be the leader in the secondary. We know he's a ball hawk. We know he's all over the field. I know the last couple of years, injury prone. His performance hasn't been what it was his first couple of years at Pittsburgh. I mean, he was first team All-Pro a couple times. And then he started getting injured. Again, a typical Dolphin player getting hurt throws off his game, of course. I don't think Minkah's a less player. I do think he's been less healthy. So we get Minkah back. It does help us with a need because we were looking at Malachi Starks for a lot of the season. Like, hey, is he going to be there at 13 for us to get a safety because we don't have any good safeties? Now we pluck an all-pro safety, plop him in the middle of the defense. Immediately makes the defense better. I think he's going to be great with the young kids, like directing them on what to do. I think he's going to have a much more defined role in the defense now where he knows exactly what he should be doing. Obviously, he's going to lead by example. I'm a giant Minkah fan. I think this is a really solid pickup. Now, we still have questions at cornerback, which, we have to figure out what we're going to do in that position. But I am a Minkah fan. I'm happy he's back. I think this now makes that second corner position competition go crazy. Because at this point, every guy that plays corner and or safety on our team was kind of vying like, hey, all of us can play. And now there's one less spot that you can play. And that means that the competition is going to ramp up even more, which I love. 1-year contracts. Hey, starter job on the line. Who wants to grab that brass ring? So make a move. And I do think Minkah, he has 2 years left on his deal. I would like to see him get extended to break some of that money up. I think it's $22 million a year. So if we extend him for a couple more years and maybe we can break that pie up a little bit more, I think that's even better fiscally. But I'm a fan. I think this definitely helps the secondary. We're losing Jaylen's not good for the cornerback plays, but adding Minkah definitely helps the safeties out. So All in all, I think you can get me to believe it's a wash. I think Minka's probably, you know, third, fourth best safety in the league. I think Ramsey is probably between 5 and 10 at the cornerback. So based on that kind of like mathematics of it, we'll say we won the trade because we get Minkah, and that makes me feel good to say that. John Smith is the third piece of this trade, and we mentioned the $12 million number for John the whole time because 12 million was a number that a bunch of tight ends were at. I was shocked by the number of tight ends who were getting $12 million, and he was making 4.8, and he was like, "Hey, I want to make what they're making." Totally makes sense to me. We didn't have the money. This simply came down to a money decision. Tua wanted him to stay. I believe he wanted to stay. I think the fan base wanted him to stay. We didn't have 12 million for you. Sorry, we just didn't have it. You know we're tight on the cap. We like you. We just didn't. We didn't love you that much. So him being thrown in the trade, I do think was basically a way to just offset money that we would have paid out in the Ramsey trade to get Jonnu, right? He did immediately sign a 1 year, $12 million extension. We've been harping on that number because it's felt like, hey, I'm in the same echelon as those guys. And I wholeheartedly believe that he is. I just didn't think he was worth 224, 336 type money. I didn't believe that. But I'm looking at the guys who are getting 12 million. I'm like, yeah, man, you're probably better than a couple of these guys. You're at least in the same caliber as them. Pittsburgh, because they're going all in on the Aaron Rodgers season, said, we can give you 12 million for a year. Shout out to Jonnu. Nothing but love. Drew Rosenhaus be working, man. I said the last, like, I don't know, week or two of shows, I didn't think it would be traded. I didn't think the market was that big for him. I didn't think anybody would give him the money. Hey, I was wrong. It happens sometimes. I was wrong. I didn't think anybody would give him that much money. I thought the Dolphins can get away with giving him 7.5, maybe up to 8, and then somebody jumped and gave him 12. And if someone's going to pay you the money you think you're worth, go take the money. John did what's best for him and his family. He's going to be there for the next couple of years. He'll be 31 when that contract's done. I don't know how things work with him and Pat Fryermuth. Like, Pat's also under contract, so I don't know. Are they going to move Pat? I don't know what's happening there. I'm a little curious about what that is. But if Pat is a free agent or they want to trade Pat, that'll be interesting. They might keep both tight ends and Jonnu to flank out more and be more of a down the field receiver. Who knows what Pittsburgh's going to do? Here's what the problem is for the Dolphins. That leaves us with a major league void at tight end. Because right now, Pharaoh Brown is our starting tight end, and he is known as a pass blocking tight end. He is not known for getting loose, for getting down the field. Like, if he catches 2 or 3 touchdowns a year, it's because he was blocking. Get off the block, I'm open. He is not the guy running on the field, giving out work and getting tutties. That's not what he is. So we have a issue at tight end. We don't have anyone on the roster that I think anyone feels like can immediately ascend to that position, which means we got to get a tight end. So if you want to do a quick recap of this trade, we probably need to get at least 1 corner, maybe 2, and also a tight end after the aftermath of this trade. What we did gain is a safety, so we don't have to get another safety. So shout out to all the safeties that were floating out there, the Harrison Smiths and, Justin Simmons, like, hey, maybe Miami. That's over. We don't need you guys anymore. But we definitely need a tight end, and we for sure need a cornerback. And Jonnu got his money. So shout out to Jonnu. We wish you the best. We simply couldn't pay you. I'm sorry. We just couldn't pay you. So there's going to be so much on this story. Like, I didn't want to go too crazy today, but we're going to keep unpacking this because there's more speculation going forward. And finally, let's get to some of the comments. After this trade happened, immediately people started sliding in my comment section. Yo, man, how do you feel? What's going on here? What are the Dolphins doing? The first question was, a couple of days ago, was does Chris Greer have a rabbit up his sleeve? And I want to readdress that question because I said at the time, I didn't think he did. And again, when I'm wrong on this channel, no problem coming out and saying I was wrong. I said maybe the trade deadline. I feel like he's just trying to save money. He's not trying to make any moves. We're trying to deleverage. That's what I said about Chris Greer. Evidently, again, wrong. He was trying to get Minkah back the whole time. He was trying to find a deal that worked best for the team. And I think he paid out less money than we were anticipating to pay out. So I got to give Chris Greer credit. I think this is actually one of his stronger moves over the last couple of years. We get a 5th round pick back. 2027 5th round pick, by the way. None of these picks that we exchanged are for next year's draft. They're for the draft after, which I like because I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be good in 2 years. So I will gladly take their pick in 2 years because I think they're going to suck in a couple years. But not important. So I didn't think he had any tricks up his sleeve. And then he pulled it out. And I was like, oh, okay, you had one. So shout out to Chris Greer. Um, bringing Minkah back, I think is a big deal. We will see what we do going forward because now I think there is going to be a flurry of moves. I don't think we're just going to sit on our hands now. I think they've kind of positioned the money to now be able to deploy it, and we can act accordingly. Okay. Next question is, who should the Dolphins bring in to fill in that corner? This is two questions. I think questions of who I think they will bring in and who I think they should bring in are different. I think we are going to bring in Rasul Douglas. I think that's kind of been like an open secret this whole time. The fact that he hasn't been signed, we've already had him in for a workout. We've already made an offer to him. Like the Jair thing came and went. Jaylen's now off the books. We know how much we had to pay out to it, so we know how much money we actually have to spend. So, yeah, I think Rasul makes the most sense. I like Stephon Gilmore. I've always said that. But I like Stephon Gilmore for a very specific reason. I just think he's the best for the money plus production. Like, he's going to be cheaper than Rasul, but I don't think Rasul is that much better than him. It's kind of where I am on there. I think Rasul, like, if this is like, I don't know, NBA 2K or something, Rasul might be like a 76. I think Stephon Gilmore may be like a 70. I don't think there's a big gap between them. And if we're paying 2 to 3 million more for one person over the other person, then I'd rather save that money and maybe roll it into other assets on the team when money is tight. I think Stephon maybe has one more good year left in him. If we get Rasul, I don't know if it'll be for a 1 year deal. I think he's 30 years old coming off an injury. I think he will probably want a multiple year situation. So maybe a 2 to 3 year deal, which I don't love. But that's where I think we are going to go. I think Rasul. Now, there's a scenario where the money works out, we might go get both. And I think that changes the game. Because we do that, the secondary goes from complete liability, what are these guys doing? Miami's, stinking, they can't stop anybody. If the money works out where, let's say $6, maybe $7 million can get you both players for a year. Rasul wants a longer term deal, fine. We don't honor that. Stephon wants his contract. We can get both of them 1 year, $4 million, 1 year, 2.5. And now we have both of those guys for the next year. Cater jumps in as your slot corner. Then you got Minkah as the safety. Maybe like Ashton Davis is the other safety. I don't think that's a bad secondary at all. I think that's more than good enough. We know what the D line is going to look like. I think linebacker, we're solid to better than average. All of a sudden, the conversation around the secondary changes, right? You go out and take two veterans, put them at corner. Minkah, all-roll safety in the back. You add another veteran safety next to him. Cater, corner in the slot, who's ascending, young, trying to earn more money for himself going forward. I think you have a very competitive defense. Are they going to be top 10? Probably not. But could they be top 15? Yeah, I think they could be. And I think that is maybe like the big fish kind of play, if we can make that move happen. But I don't know if they're going to go that way. I think they're going to go one or the other. But I would love if they just said we're going big fish hunting with like little fish bait. We're going to grab two little fish and just combine them to make a big fish. And they go out and get both of those guys. Because I think they both could fit on the team. I think temperament and personality-wise, they both fit. I think contract-wise, they fit. And I think it rounds out the team in a way that can make the team competitive immediately. Because, listen, if Pittsburgh's going to be doing this in their secondary, and we already know what the Chiefs are, we know what Baltimore is, and we know what Buffalo is, like, if we're going to make this last hurrah before figuring out, are we on the right track, or are we getting off this road and kind of rebuilding, you gotta let it all fly. Don't be dumb about long term, but let it fly for the time being. Give your defense a chance to win. We all believe our offense is going to be good. I think it's not the worst play in the world. So I will go after Stephon personally. I think we're going to go after Rasul Douglas. But anyway, guys, this has been a fun episode. Like, I didn't want to go crazy because it's going to be a 30, 40-minute episode. And I don't want to give y'all all my tidbits right now. I got much more to get on with some of this trade compensation and tight end speculation tomorrow. So please tune in for tomorrow. But we appreciate y'all for tuning in to Dolphins Daily, man. You guys are the reason we do this. And this is the time why we do it, because news breaks and now we get to talk about it as fans and kind of speculate about what our future is going to be. So we will see you next time on Dolphins Daily.